Hi, good morning, and welcome to Inside South Florida. I'm Dave Azer. Today, are you tired of people dumping their emotional garbage onto you? Well, we've got a book that might change your life. Plus, how to save money for your children's education and leave a little something for yourself. And from music to sports to food and more, a lot going on across South Florida in September. We'll give you your complete social calendar. That and more as Inside South Florida starts right now. Are you tired of people dumping their emotional baggage on you at work or at home? Well, if you're fed up and you don't want to take it anymore, there's a book you need to read. It's by David J. Paulet. It's an international bestseller, and it's called The Law of the Garbage Truck: How to Stop People from Dumping on You. And here's David to tell you all about it. David, it is good to have you on the show.
Great to be on the show, Dave. Thanks so much.
I thought 50 Shades of Grey was the hottest book. Apparently I'm wrong. I'm mistaken.
Well, you know, it's a great comparison, that's for sure. But yeah, the book is The Law of the Garbage Trucks in 12 languages around the world, all throughout Asia and Europe and through Latin America.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
and even hotter than 50 Shades of Grey.
If you say so, and I'm going with what you say.
Different kind, though.
Listen to him. Listen to him.
All right, so 100 million people have read some version of this. You mentioned 12 languages around the world. People all over the world can't get enough of it. What does it mean? What is it? What is the law of the garbage truck?
Well, you know, the essence of it is a metaphor. And the metaphor is, in real life, garbage trucks are super valuable, right? They keep us healthy, they keep us sane, they look for all the negative stuff, the garbage that we need to get rid of, and then they fill up on it. That's their job every day, just fill up on it and then dump it. But in real life, in the metaphor that we use in the book and in my teachings, is that human beings are not meant to be garbage trucks. We're not meant to go around and look for everything negative that we can't control: rumors, gossip, excessive criticism, complaints, fill up on it, and then turn around and then dump it on anyone that runs into us when we get home or at work or so forth. So that's really that's the metaphor of the garbage truck. The law comes back to an experience I had 20 years ago in a New York City taxi cab. See, I'm kind of one of those guys that just believes we all learn through story. And so if you really want to learn a lesson, you got to have a story to connect to it. So over the years, I developed this story based on an experience I had in this cab, where the cab driver ended up responding really friendly to a near accident, an accident that could have sent us really to the hospital. And he was so friendly that it really jarred me, where he said something that ultimately I wrote into something I call the law of the garbage truck, which is essentially this: many people are like garbage trucks. They run around full of garbage, full of frustration, full of anger, and full of disappointment. And as their garbage piles up, they do what garbage trucks do. They look for a place to dump it.
Yeah.
And if you let them, they'll dump it on you.
Who knew that a New York City cab driver would be so profound?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things, and people will say to me, what happened? And it's one of those where we all have experiences every single day with people. We have great interactions. Just before we went on the air, we were having fun interactions talking with Matt behind the camera about what we're doing. And it's so interesting that when you listen to somebody, you can pick up something one day that just hits the right chord and hits a message that you just recall. And then as life goes on, we tell stories to each other. And that's how the Law of the Garbage Truck evolved. I just started telling the experience of my being in a taxi cab, and there we have it.
Did you at least sign a copy for the New York cab driver?
You know, it's one of those.
Is he watching?
Yeah, exactly. If you're with us, you know, below. It's interesting. The story itself, when it happened, was 22 years ago or so, and when I first put it in writing, it was many years later. So that taxi driver was a real short experience. It kind of went in, went out, and that was it. But it was one of those where it stuck with me later when recalling, you know, how do you respond to negative things you can't control? Well, I remember this time I was in a taxi, and that's how it began. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, that taxi driver, he was an older gentleman, and 22 years ago. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, what a cool story, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really great.
You know, this book is obviously chock full of great advice, and I won't ask you to divulge everything that's in here, but if you can just kind of hit on a couple of the more, you know, important points, so people who want to maybe buy this book say, oh, I got to get this.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is that Barbara Fredrickson, she's a researcher at the University of North Carolina, she says about this book that it's hard enough to manage your own happiness, but what happens if you keep running into negative people and negative events? How do you handle that? You know, and she recommends the book as one way to do that, and that is we take so many negative things personally. especially the things we can't control. We get into, people say, well, why do people get so frustrated? It's because they let the hassles of every day, annoyances of every day. So you get a bad driver, a rude waiter, a mean boss, a unloving relative, pushy salesperson, moody coworker, whatever, and we let those personal interactions that are negative that we can't control, we have no influence whatsoever. It could be someone's personality, and we take them personally, we take them in, and then we ruminate on them, and we think about them, and then we make them bigger than they are. And so the biggest thing that we do with the Law of the Garbage Truck is we teach something called the No Garbage Trucks Pledge. But really what it is to be able to quickly discern when you see something that you can't control, a negative thing you can't control, that you let that pass by so you can focus on what's important, what the person's really saying, or what the subject of the meeting really is, or what the point of the game really is, as opposed to getting all hung up on that person said this little thing, it wasn't important, and I got all fired up about it. So learning to let the negative things you can't control pass you by.
Right.
Why? Because you are not a garbage truck.
A garbage truck.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
And that's part of the pledge, right? And so this pledge that you were just talking about, I know there's video, you've gone to like New York City, you've gone around the world, and people are just saying it in different languages.
Yeah, one of the coolest things that we had is when the book came out, 2010, when the hardcover came out, we had a full-size garbage truck stickered like a NASCAR driving all the way through New York City, and we were having people take the No Garbage Trucks Pledge, where they literally would say, and it's as simple as this: I do not accept garbage in my life. And they say it with, they're raising their arms and getting really into it, because people want to let go of this stuff because they don't want to hold in it. I do not accept garbage in my life. When I see garbage trucks, I do not take them personally. I just smile, I wave,
Right.
I wish them well, and I move on. And I do not spread garbage to others. I am not a garbage truck. I do not accept garbage in my life. So we've done that all around the world, as you said, and now it's up to 48 languages.
Okay. The only problem is if nobody's going to accept garbage, you're going to have a garbage strike. And then if you have a garbage strike, the whole town's going to smell bad.
Right.
That's something you're going to have to think of.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, because you really bring up a great point. There's the idea of dumping versus venting. We all have frustrations. We all have issues that come up. So the question is, what do we deal with them? So one of the distinctions I make in the book is that there's a difference between dumping and venting. Dumping is, I'm just going to run into your office. I don't care what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Or I'm going to come in the kitchen at home. I don't care what you're doing. I'm just going to start complaining, and I'm going to start criticizing and just go off on it. Whereas venting, was what we say in the book is, or I say in the book is, ask permission and essentially say, hey, can I vent for a moment? Mm-hmm. And when you say that, you're suggesting two things. One, you're asking permission, so it's permission-based. So you could say, well, I'm really busy right now. I'm getting ready for an interview. I don't have time. And it's also time-based. It suggests I won't be doing this forever. So we really say, hey, can I vent for a moment? And most everyone is going to say yes right then or possibly later. And then you can handle what you need to handle, be free of it, and move on without leaving garbage dumped all over the people based on your frustration.
I wish that we had more time. We're actually almost done. This goes so quickly.
This did go quickly.
Yeah, I told you it would. The last thing is, though, what are you working on next? What happens next for you?
Well, there are two big things we're doing. One is related to the Law of the Garbage Truck. We are working with schools now where teachers and students are taking the No Garbage Trucks Pledge, and they get into it all the way from kindergarten all the way up through graduate school. And people are taking this pledge. And what we're really asking all children to do is to declare, I am not a garbage truck. I do not listen to the nonsense that the kids throw at me. I don't take it seriously. I don't then internalize it. I don't fill up on it. And I don't go home and start yelling at mom and dad, or my brother or sister, or my friends. So we're working on a campaign and looking for some international partners to help get that into the schools beyond what we've already done. Second thing is I've got a book coming out next year called The Three Promises. So the first, the Law of the Garbage Truck, is about navigating negativity. The Three Promises is about how do we know scientifically what to do to become happy, and essentially it comes down to three promises. Enjoy every day is number one. Number two, do what you love. And number three, make a difference.
I enjoyed this. This was great. Before you go, how can people get the book, get more information about you? How do they do it?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
This has been awesome. I really enjoyed it. The book you can find on any major bookseller. Find it online, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. You can find the book there. It's audio books there, the ebook, the iBooks. It's basically any format.
Right.
It's there. Maybe even in stone tablets. Possibly.
Right.
But and then to get in contact with my work, they can go to my name, pollay.com, which is POLLAY.com.
Okay, even steamier than 50 Shades of Grey, just like we said.
And you said it.
Good to meet you, buddy.
Hey, good to meet you. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Come on back.
I'd love to.
All right. Thank you, David. Coming up, how to budget for your children's education and leave a little extra money for yourself. We'll tell you all about it. Stick around.